The Chicago Bulls, after a controversial offseason, opened up the 2022 season being straight up dominant, much to the surprise of many people, including myself. But after this great start, where they were the top of the conference for multiple months, they now see themselves in danger of falling into the play-in. So, what the hell happened? Before we get into today's topic, I want to talk to you about today's sponsor, Manscaped. According to my analytics, it is a damn near certainty that if you are watching this, you are a man. And you are a man and not an animal, so that means presumably you shave your balls. Like, seriously, I would hope that you do. Like, this is separate from the advertisement here. You shave your balls, right? Because if you don't, like, seriously, what are you doing, dude? Now, as people who shave our balls, we both know that it can sometimes be risky business. If there is one area that you do not want to cut yourself, that has to be the one, and it's also one of the easiest areas to cut yourself. And I don't know about y'all, but anytime I so much as nick myself, for some reason it creates the very Red Sea that Moses parted. As a result, finding the proper tools to take care of you down there is not the easiest job in the world. Luckily, Manscaped has you covered. Inside the package, you will find their Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear, nose, and hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, performance boxer briefs, and a really nice travel bag. I've used the trimmer and it is easily the best one that I have ever used, though unlike the unboxing, I can't show you B-roll of that on YouTube. And the nose and ear trimmer is really great as well, and becoming more necessary as I get older, as it will for you too. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code RustyBuckets at manscaped.com. That is 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com, and use code RustyBuckets. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped. On with the video. In order to get an idea of what went wrong with the 2020 Chicago Bulls, we first have to go back and look at where they were early on in the season, where they got to the heights that they eventually fell from. The Bulls held the first seed for a majority of the year, and they were the clear-cut best team in the East in 2021, but that changed around January 9th of 2022. Previous to that, the Chicago Bulls had a record of 26-10, which would put them on pace for just shy of 60 wins with 59. But very nearly at the turn of the calendar year, things changed. At the end of December, Alex Caruso went down with an injury, and in mid-January, Lonzo Ball went down with an even more severe injury he has yet to return from, with both of these guys being players who were making all defensive bids in the earlier season. Zach LaVine also sustained a knee injury that he has played through since, but has clearly slowed him down. Zach being the team's essentially 1B scoring option, that has a huge impact, and Lonzo and Caruso were both the foundation of the Bulls defense and surprised many on that end. The way those two were able to make the opponent panic at the point of attack caused a lot of turnovers. And this essentially became the Bulls' identity as a team. They would put in all the effort possible into forcing a turnover and then capitalize on that on the fast break. And Lonzo and Caruso as great defenders who created these turnovers, as well as extremely high IQ passers who were best utilized on the break due to their lack of scoring gravity, it really was the perfect system that best utilized their personnel. Not to mention Zach LaVine and especially DeMar DeRozan were great playmakers as well, and even Vucevic was capable of throwing a full court pass when necessary. The Bulls, when healthy, were a top 10 defense in the NBA, and even more importantly than that, that defense translated pretty strictly to the success of their offense. A lot of their easy opportunities came in transition, and meanwhile, the masterful scoring of Zach LaVine and the surprisingly amazing scoring from DeMar DeRozan would cover the half-court offense, with the rest of the players doing what they could, best among them being Lonzo Ball, who shot 42% from 3 on 8 attempts per game. Preceding these injuries, a few things happened. First of all, their defense fell off a cliff, and that obviously has its own set of problems just on that end of the floor. But, as I previously mentioned, the Bulls were built on defense to offense, so the fact that the team was no longer forcing turnovers meant that the offense also became a lot more difficult and more reliant on half-court creation than it was previous. This put a lot more pressure on the likes of Zach LaVine, DeMar DeRozan, and Nikola Vucevic. In the case of Zach, with him having this knee injury that he's been recovering from and playing through, that added pressure was really not good. Previous to January 9th, Zach averaged 26.4 points on 62% true shooting, and January 9th till now, due to playing through this injury and again the added pressure, his averages have fallen to 22.7 points on 59% true shooting. Nikola Vucevic has sucked all year, regardless of when the Bulls were good or bad. One of the only consistencies has been Vucevic's inconsistency, so I can't say the pressure to score in the half court has really resulted in anything different from him. But in the case of DeMar, he originally responded to this added pressure and then some, breaking a freaking Wilt Chamberlain record, which if you did not know, it's kind of hard to do. And it was through the crazy run from DeMar DeRozan where he averaged over 35 points per game over 8 games, where the Bulls managed to keep their head above water and still remain towards the top of the conference. However, DeRozan inevitably flamed out. In fact, he flamed out pretty hard. He went from 28.3 points on 60% true shooting to 24.7 on 52% true shooting after his scoring run. And the Bulls, in the time frame since this run, are now 4-10. And they have fallen all the way from the #1 seed in the conference with a comfortable amount of wiggle room to the 5 seed with both the Raptors and the Cavaliers very capable of leapfrogging them and putting them down into the play-in. So, if we're looking at this season, what is the diagnosis for what exactly went wrong? Well, I think it's kind of obvious. It's been injuries. Now, let me go on a quick rant here because I've been involved in this discourse quite a bit. Acknowledging that injuries played a huge factor in the downfall of the Chicago Bulls is not a cop-out, it's just objectively true. Look at their record when Lonzo and Caruso played versus when they didn't. The difference in win percentage is comical. Now, I am aware that I released a second channel video titled "The Bulls Are Frauds," but shut up, let a guy get some views. The people who felt as though the Chicago Bulls were some like 2015 Hawks-esque, not real contender, pretender level team, for some reason feel vindicated by recent events, even though those two things aren't correlated. Like, the original thing was people not believing the Bulls were contenders, and that's cool because I never really bought them as contenders either, but them then becoming just a bad team is not proof that they weren't contenders when the team was healthy. That's just a completely different thing. It's a different team with different expectations and contexts. How does a team failing to even look like a fake contender prove they're a fake contender? If anything, that's a worse failure far beyond even appearing as a fake contender. The Bulls would not be a 2015 Hawks-esque team if they had maintained their early season play through the whole year. If anything, it would further put them in that camp. Essentially, my point is, you can have not thought the Bulls were a contender, as I did not, while still acknowledging and being fully aware that they are better than they have been recently when healthy. You can believe both of those things at the same time. But here's the thing about those injuries, though, and there's injuries outside of just Lonzo and Caruso. Those are just the main ones that I pointed out. The problem persists beyond the injuries themselves, because outside of Lonzo, pretty much everybody else is back. With Caruso back, with Derrick Jones Jr. back, with Javonte Green back, and others, as good as Lonzo is, the team before was not one less Lonzo away from falling off this hard. The problem now is not that everyone is out, but that things are not the same anymore, and honestly, that's what actually concerns me. Everything about the way the Bulls do what they do is fundamentally different from what it was before. The way that pretty much the system and the players adjusted to the lack of talent, the way that they have tried to keep their head above water with the half-court offense, slowing down the pace and all of that, they've maintained that style even with players returning from injury. So the old style that was successful is not really around anymore, as they have adjusted to being not healthy. Even when they are healthy now, they're playing like they aren't. Again, Lonzo is a huge piece, but not that huge that it should be this significantly different. The team does not run the fast break anymore, they do not force turnovers anymore, and they rely entirely on their half-court offense and difficult shot making, and honestly, they are running out of times where they can beat that dead horse. The Bulls, after losing some key players, lost their very identity that got them the success in the first place, and that's bigger than just losing the players. And unfortunately, I don't believe this team is going to be able to recover that identity until they go through an offseason to get it back to what it was. Now, all of this is not to say that the Bulls were not without flaws before. Again, if you're not a contender level team, you definitely have some fucking flaws, and I didn't think they were a contender. Like I said, Vucevic has sucked all year. Their three-point shooting outside of 2 players is pretty fucking awful. The half-court offense system they run has always been overly simplistic and overly reliant on Zach and DeMar bailing them out. They don't get to the free throw line a ton. While I do believe some of the concerns were overblown, Vucevic is not a strong defender, and as a result, we always get cooked by opposing big men. Billy Donovan had and still has some seriously questionable rotation decisions. I am telling you that when most Bulls fans just simply claim that the team would be a lot better with everybody healthy, that doesn't automatically mean we think they're going to the finals. Just that they're simply better, which is just true. Doesn't mean Bulls fans were expecting to hoist banner number 7. We can just recognize the difference between our team that was on pace for 60 wins versus our team that's not going to get to 50. No joke, this season has been so up and down and daunting that I've felt like fucking gaslit. Like, were the Bulls ever a good team? Because it feels like they're not now. It feels like they never were, and the way people talk about them, it's like they never were. But no, I saw a clip on Twitter the other day that reminded me. Lonzo Ball hit a huge dagger 3 versus the Nets early on in the season when the Bulls started off like 8-0. And I remembered, like, oh yeah, this was a very good and enjoyable team. I don't need a contender. I would like one for sure. Definitely, if you're offering, I'll take it. But I would just like a good and fun basketball team that doesn't feel like a chore to watch. And that's really all I'm asking of the Chicago Bulls, and that's what they were early on in the season. And shame on me for wanting them back and thinking that it's a difference. Like, fuck off with that. Like, seriously, you don't know what you're talking about. Anyways, again, thank you to Manscaped for sponsoring this video, and shout out to Rudy for editing this video, but that is the end of this video. Be sure to like and subscribe for NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.